we are having a day 9 session, right? Kubernetes. So last class we had covered about what we covered. We covered about Kubernetes label, right? We covered Kubernetes label actually, correct. So before Kubernetes label, we had covered namespaces, we covered taint and all. So these three topics are very important. The Kubernetes taint, Kubernetes namespace, and Kubernetes label actually. And these topics, these things are heavily used in all further classes, in all future classes. Okay. Now, now one thing actually, uh, if you see my AWS console, right? See, I have three machines, master, worker, and worker two. Correct. Now, most of you have the doubt like I told you in the first day that it is always better to you to have a T2 micro, correct? T2 micro is nothing but master. But what about the worker and worker 2? Do you need T2 micro? Because T2 micro per hour, it will cost you, sorry, excuse me, per hour, it will cost you around 4 rupees actually, correct? So per hour, it costs you 4 rupees actually. And that's a reason I have, and that's a reason only one machine that is master, I have selected the instance type as T2 medium. Whereas a worker one and worker two, you can still have a T2 micro itself. So if you are under free trial and if you are using the worker one, worker two as a T2 micro instance, right, then you'll not get any billing. You'll only get the billing only for the master. Clear, sir? And that is one thing. Secondly, what happened, right? Most of have asked one question to me that Rajesh, uh, like, uh, do you keep the whole machine always up and running? So that is one question. I say that no, you should not keep always up and running because T2 micro is chargeable. Correct? It is charging. It means that you'll be getting around 4 rupees per 4 rupees per hour. Now, if you see me, when I have started my mission means, when I started my mission today, morning 8 o'clock I started. See, today it is almost 11. So if you see, almost my machine will be up and running for 12. What is 12 for the 48? 48 rupees is almost, it is already billed to me. And if you see the billing of me, see, almost 800 rupees is today's billing this month. See, 775 rupees is billed already to me. So what I was using, right? How I was using means, guys, whenever you want to practice with Kubernetes, there are two things actually. One is actually it is always better you to have the instance created in your any of the cloud, either in Azure or AWS or Google Cloud, and you can have this three machine set. Yes, some people might ask, Rajesh, I have a master. Should I really want worker one, worker two? Not really, not required. You can just have only one worker node. That is fine. But why you want worker node two? Yes, when there's a topic, there is a labels. When there's a topic known as a taint, and when there's a topic where you want to do practice on namespace, you need one more worker node. But whereas all other topics, whatever we'll be doing, it is enough to have with a master and worker node. So it means that only with the two node you can practice everything. Clear, sir? That is one thing. Once you create an instance, you do an installation, you set it up, you configure, finally you work for 4 5 hours. I would request you to go ahead, select everything, and do a terminate instance. Don't stop instant. Even though if you stop also, still the billing will be going on because you are allocated that VM. T2 medium is allocated. So the billing will be keep going on, sir. So always you to terminate, and again you need to, whenever again tomorrow morning you're practicing, again please create the master node, worker node, do the installation. It will take hardly 10 minutes time. Configure, installation, configure, everything will take 10 times. Now the question comes like, you might ask me like, Rajesh, how many times I have did this installation or how many times I have did it? Guys, from last 1.5 month, more than some 40 times or 45 times I have installed it. Now again, some person might ask me, like Naresh might ask me, Rajesh, is it really required to do all these things? Not required. What you can do, you can go with the, there is in a net, we have a Kata Koda actually. Okay, Katakoda, you need to create a credential, log in with the credential. Okay, and then if you come here and you can here type something like Kubernetes kubeless. Okay, you can start the scenario like this. Here, start scenario. So this session, whatever the session will get created, right? That would be active for 20 minutes. It means that if you're not doing any executing any command, this session will be up and running for 20 minutes. Suppose it's not you're continuously doing for hours together without non-stop. Then what happened, right? It will be there till you are practicing. But once you stopped entering any command, or once you are keeping this system or this service idle for 20 minutes, right? Then what happened? It will go off actually. So this will take time actually, but you have to have a patience to wait and do it. So either you could do this way also by using Katakoda you can do, or else it is always recommended you to do with the AWS, because if you have a free tier, that's what as we discussed, right? Hardly if you're practicing even 100 hours also, it might cost you not more than 1,500 rupees. So this is one information I want to give you guys. So here you could see that kubectl get nodes. Only one mini cube is there. Okay, but what happened, there are many other are there, like for example okay, yeah, Kubernetes fundamental start serverless. Yeah, I'll continue with this Kubernetes serverless here. Okay, kubeless I will go. Same thing here also, start this scenario, because it's always good that you will say that why you have to do always set up everything. So some people might feel very bored of doing setup always actually. So that's the reason they want to immediately do some kind of a hands-on, right? So they can get into the Katakoda. So any doubts you have guys for on this, let me know. Clear all your doubts now itself. So here, but what happened, right? You have some constraints over here, like you will get max master one, master and the worker node one. You might not get worker node two, worker node three. So in that case, you have to depend upon your cloud only, like that. See here, control node. See now, if you say kubectl get nodes, you will get one control node as well as control plane node. That is nothing but your master node, as well as you will get one worker node also. After some time, you will get one worker node also. So like that, and you could see that the version is v1.18, whereas here I think I have to log in. Yes, I have to log into the server. So I need to shift into root user. Then if I execute the kubectl get nodes, see that my version is v1.23, but whereas here in the Katakoda, it is v1.18. But that is fine. Almost all the concepts, whatever we learn, everything will get executed even in v1.17, 1.18, 1.19, or even this 1.23. No problem. It will work actually. Okay. Could you see here, please, guys? Control plane is your master node, and you will get node 01. You will not get node 02, node 03. Neither that is not possible. Only two nodes you get. So can you practice over here everything, sir?
So what can you ping me the link?
No, just to type Katakoda.
Kata code.
Katakoda.
Okay.
Katakoda.com.
Okay. Okay.
Create one profile. I mean, you have to
Okay.
link with your Gmail. Then you log
Okay.
into that,
Mhm.
and then like as I said, right here you come over here. You can search here Kubernetes something, and then you can go with the serverless or tools, anything serverless.
Okay. So we'll
And
get the one.
after that, you can go with the kubeless here.
Okay.
Like then you have to say start scenario. You have to click on this. But
Okay.
as I said earlier, it will be only 20 minutes estimated time. If I'm not doing anything over here in the next 20 minutes, right, it will get log off. So again, you have to reset. Suppose I'm continuously working for hours together, it will allow me to work.
Okay. So we'll get one control node, one worker node.
Yes, this is also fine, I'm saying. But
Yeah,
there are
yeah.
many other things are there where you need one more extra node. So you might not get here in Katakoda.
Okay, okay.
Clear, sir?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So, but I would rather I would recommend for you guys to go with any cloud itself like this instead of depend upon the Katakoda. You might you will go to. But yeah, frequently I want to practice something. Means I will go with the Katakoda.
Okay, Raj. Got it.
Okay, sir. Done. Okay. Now, so in the last session, right? Like, yeah, what is the day today's topic actually? And the day 9, very important. Yes. Today, sir, if we are completing some of the things today on the day 9 session, so we would be covering 50% of our Kubernetes classes actually. So what is today's topic is that we have to understand about the source quota and limit range.
Namaste.
Resource quota and limit range. This is the topic we have to cover. So once this completes actually, then we need to take up the controllers, nothing but replication controllers. So from here, actual Kubernetes starts actually. Till here, if you're completing here till today, if you're completing, I'll plan to start it, but we'll see it whether we can able to start controllers or not. But what I'm trying to tell that if you are completing till here, it means that you have covered the 50% of the Kubernetes actually. Remaining 50% is still there, which starts from the controller actually. Clear? Now, okay. So what is this resource quota actually? Like we'll go with the diagram of format. So let me open the MS Paint. We'll try to understand what is resource quota or what is everything. Now, we understood the first session that actually like we have a Kubernetes cluster, right? Right. We have a Kubernetes cluster where we have a master node. Again, we have some kind of a worker node. Worker node 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How many a number of worker nodes are there, right? Like this. Okay, so this is a master node. And this is a worker 1, worker 2, take that and so on. Correct? Now, what will happen that actually in every Kubernetes cluster, sir, what we have, this is the complete Kubernetes cluster, right? This is the entire Kubernetes cluster. We know very well. Kubernetes cluster. It's every Kubernetes cluster, right? It has a lot of resources. Even it has a hardware resource also, right? Like for example, my whole Kubernetes cluster, this whole complete Kubernetes cluster, it might have 500 GB of hard drive. Means it can at most access the 500 GB of hard drive, hard disk, and I might have some 100 GB of RAM. Correct? I might have some 10 core CPU. So this is nothing but the complete resource of your Kubernetes cluster. In that the whole entire Kubernetes cluster, it can have an access of all these resources, right? These are the hardware resources, right? Now, what will happen is that actually that every node has a limitation. Like for example, you say Rajesh, you have a worker 1, worker 2, worker 3. Suppose I want to check in each and every worker node how many pods I can create. So that is one interview question. You have to how many number of ports, maximum number of pods you can create. You can create up to 110 pods actually. Every node can have 110, not more than 110. Okay. Now, if you want to check that actually, where is it actually? How we can check it out? If you execute the kubectl get nodes, you will get all the nodes which are part of the cluster. Suppose you, if you say describe it, kubectl describe node and say master. if you come up, can you see here pods, Caesar? Can you see? It means that under the master itself, you can create 100 nodes, max. Similarly, if you do a kubectl describe master and here you say worker one, even in worker one also, same thing actually. So it means that at a max, you can only create 110 pods actually, not more than that 10 pods. Now, the question comes actually that actually suppose I 110 is very less, right? You might say that actually Raj, I want to increment, I need to have 1000 pods in each and every node, worker node. So what has happened, right? What Kubernetes did, right? Before v.1.23, before v1.23, what they had happened, right? If you go to this path actually, I'm just telling you for information, /var lib kubelet actually. If you go to this path, we have one file known as a config.yaml file actually. In this config.yaml file, here at the down right, we used to have one parameter like this. What is that parameter? Something like under the /var lib kubelet. Very important, sir. I mean, they might ask in interview, I'm not sure, but under this path, there is a file by name config.yaml. So what happened under that? We used to have one variable with this value like this. We used to have a variable by name maxpod 110. What they did, in v1.22 onwards version, Kubernetes version, custom for what is it? kubectl custom for or kubectl custom for. So what happened, right? From v1 dot what is it v1.22 onwards, version 122 onwards, right? What they did, right? They removed that value actually. They removed that variable. This variable they removed from this file actually. And now what is happening that you cannot reconfigure through a file actually. But whereas before v.1.22 onwards, like v.1.18 or something like this, I'm not sure whether in the Kata Coda, I think I removed it. In the Kata Coda, I could have checked it, but that is fine. If you go to this path and check that file, no config.xml file, right? We used to have what? We used to have the file by the name config.xml. Under that, we used to have a variable known as a max pod is equal to 110. There, what happened, right? You can go and you can configure like this, 10,000 like this. And after that, you could have saved that file. And once you save that file, what you should do, no? You should able to do a systemctl kubelet or systemctl restart kubelet. Like this, you have to do it actually. Then it will restart your kubelet service. Once you do it, you could see that your Kubernetes will go down for some time actually. See, not ready because you are restarting it actually, because you did the configuration file editing a config.xml under this /var lib, which belongs to your master. Similarly, the same file even it would be there even in your worker one node also. If you log in here over here, same thing, sir. If you log in over here like this, I'm logging into the worker one, sir, now. Okay. So why I'm telling you all these things, because you should know that okay, there is some kind of a max number of pod creation it can happen actually, or you can have up to 110, but it is reconfigurable. I will okay. So I am logging into my worker one, sir, actually. Yes, worker one. So I'll switch to the super user. Here also you go to the /var lib kubelet. Under that you have a config.xml. See, I'm under the worker one node. See, here also you have config.xml. So if you open that file, we used to have one variable with a max pod actually, that they have removed it actually. So when they have started removed, they have removed from the version 22 onwards. So this is 23. From v1.22, that value is not there. Now you will ask me the question, how I want to increase now? How I can increase now? Yes, you can increase now with the help of a resource quota. With the help of the resource quota, you can able to increase the number of pods creation in the worker one nodes also, or even in master also. How to do that, we will see later. But earlier, it was configurable over a file, one of the file, right? Which is that file? Config.xml. That's what you have to remember. This one. This file, you can edit and you do it. Now it is not that value, they have removed it. Clear, sir? So now coming back to here in the diagram, what I said that this resources, it is applicable to the whole Kubernetes cluster, right? It means that if a Kubernetes administrator, if you want to make use of creation of the pods, and he can use the pods, and that pod will make use of whatever the hard disk it needs, whatever the RAM it needs, whatever the CPU it needs, each and every pod, it will utilize all these resources, correct? Now the thing comes that, suppose, assume that in a company, some 3 projects, you need to build 3 projects in your Kubernetes cluster, right? You need to build 3 projects, like you have something like project 1, project 2, and project 3. So you have something like project 1. Very important, sir. Whatever I'm telling you, it's all are important now. There are a lot of hidden intro questions behind whatever I'm saying. A lot of intro questions are hidden in the explanation, whatever I'm saying. So there are 3 projects which you want to implement. There are 3 projects, and it's a project. Now, what people will say, okay, Rajesh, each and every project, I want to create an isolation. Means that project 1, whatever the parts which are there in the project 1, that should not get. Assume that this project, the client is US, and this project, the client is UK, and this project, the client is Singapore. So these are 3 projects, correct? So, and you are building all the 3 projects in the same Kubernetes cluster itself, in the same single Kubernetes cluster. You are not maintaining a different Kubernetes, in the same. So in that way, what happened, right? Here, what happened? You have to maintain a isolation. So to maintain an isolation, now you know that, oh, sir, to maintain isolation, I know that I have to create a namespace. Do you agree with me? Any questions? You need to have a namespace. Right?
Yes.
Yes, you need to have a separate namespace for each and every project. Okay, fine. Now, you know very well that, Rajesh, you say that, okay, Rajesh, for this particular project namespace, I want to link with some of the worker one. In the last session, what we saw, with the help of a label, you are able to add this to it. Means that whatever the namespace which is the project 1, how many number of whatever the parts you are creating, it will get created only in worker 1 and worker 2. It will not get created in other node. Similarly, you used to bind the label of this nodes to the namespace which is known as the project 2. Similarly, like this to the project 3. Correct? This is what we saw in the last session. Correct. Now the question comes that, because what is happening is that you are in the namespace, fine. Before you binded, suppose that you didn't bind it, all these worker nodes were there. Suppose assume that project 1 namespace, he's creating a pods. So those pods can created in anywhere, right? Like worker 1, worker 2, worker 3, anywhere it can get created, right? Even the project 2 namespace, some developer or some tester, he's creating a pod, some n number of pods, some 100 pods is creating. This will get scattered anywhere within the worker nodes, right? Right? Now the question comes that, actually, now you say that, Rajesh, fine, no problem, fine, Rajesh. Now you say that, Rajesh, I'm having a 500 GB hard disk. Now the project 1 is there. Okay, project 1 is there. And of course, what happened? These 2 worker nodes have been allocated to the project 1. Now assume that within again the project 1, again what happened? Inside the same namespace, they would have created some more namespaces like this. Inside a namespace, they can even create some more namespace, actually, like this. So what are those namespaces got created? Developer will create its own developer namespace. Tester will create his own tester namespace. As well as production will create his own production namespace. Means inside a namespace, again they have created a namespace. Now what happened? What the developer will do now? Developer in his namespace, what he will do? He will create some 10 pods. He will create some 10 pods. Now assume that in the 10 pods, one of the pod, it utilizes it utilizes one of the pod out of 10 pod. Assume that one pod, it utilizes some 90 GB of RAM. I mean, practically it is not it will not do, but assume that one of the pod or few of the pod out of 10, some 2 or 3 pods, they have occupied 90 GB of RAM. It means that they have utilized it, actually. And the same pods, they might have used or they might have utilized almost 480 GB of hard drive, HDD hard drive, or hard disk, or memory, or storage, you can say. And few of the pods within that developer, see, developer has created this 10 pods, sir. Out of this 10 pods, few of the pod, one or more than one pod, has used this many number of resources. And even the same as even utilized, out of 10 core CPU, it might have used 9 core CPU. Now you could see that only with only one project namespace, and that too within that one developer under his namespace, if he has used so many number of resources, where it will go for the project 2 and project 3. Project 2 is a different project and project 3 is a different project. They want to create a lot of parts. So there is no resource left only now, right? So there will be crunch. He cannot run his pods under the project 2 and project 3. Those who are developers or testers, they cannot create their pods because there is a resource crunch is there. So that's what is happening, that you can actually set up a resource quota for each and every project. So let me repeat again. You can set up the resource quota. So what you have to do that? You have to say that actually, let me create a resource quota. So that I have a project 1 actually. Let me create a resource quota. What is that resource quota? This is a resource quota. Now you say that under the project 1 namespace, or under the project 1 namespace, I can only create it some 10 pods, not more than 10 pods. Pods, how much I can create, sir? 10 pods I can create. I can only use the CPU up to 2 cores, not more than 2 cores, or 5 cores, not more than 5 cores. Similarly, I will, I don't have a space actually. Okay. Okay. Here I will write, sir. Here I will write it down here so that for you guys here, this is the resource quota. And this is the resource quota, or you can even call it as a namespace actually. So under that, what you're doing that here, what you're doing that you have only using the pods, only you're allocating, or only you're providing only 10 pods. Similarly, the CPU core, how many number of CPU core you can give? Up to 5 cores only. After that, suppose like you said that Rajesh, I want to give the memory. How much memory I can give? I can give up to the memory of some 10 GB, not more than that. Okay. After that, there are some resources, something was the secrets actually. You say that Rajesh, I will not give more than 10 secrets. Okay. I will not give config maps resources more than some 20, like that. I will not give the persistence volume claim. What is it? We'll see later. So all these things. These are all very, very important topics. Persistent volume claims. Claims. I will not give more than 30, like this. So these are nothing but these are the resource quotas. So it means that you are assigning the resources to a specific project, okay, to a specific namespace, and that we call it as a resource quota. So what you have to do that, what you have to say that resource quota, resource quota resource quota is always set to the namespace. Only the namespace. Resource quota is never set to a pod, or it's never set to a node, or it never set to some cluster. No, always resource quota is always set to the namespace. Means that whenever you want to use the resource quota, first you have to create a namespace, sir. On that namespace only you can set a resource quota. And that namespace, what is happening, that it will be applicable to a particular node, or it will be applicable to the whole cluster. Basically what happened, right, you will always set a namespace to the particular node only, because like you will attach your resource quota, you will attach your namespace to the particular nodes itself through the help of a label. Clear? So what is happening, that here what happened, you are bifurcating the whole resources, whatever the system provides, what are the Kubernetes cluster provides, right? With the help of the resource quota, you are giving each and every namespace will get a particular resource quota, so that you can only make use of only those only. It means that here, for example, here for the project 1, the resource quota is pod 10. Or it means that you can only create up to 10 pods, not more than. You cannot, if you try to create a 11th pod for the under the namespace project 1, The project one will throw an error. The namespace will throw the Kubernetes no API will throw in there saying that you have exceeded the pod creation. So it means that, oh, you know that, okay, I can only create 10. Similarly, while creating a pod, you can each pod can up to make use of 10 GB, not more than 10 GB. It means that only one pod can allocate up to 10 GB or several number of pods, creation pods, right? It can make use of the complete usage of 10 GB. So these are all the what we call it as a resources actually. So this we call it as a resource quota. Now, if you go to the Google and if you say Kubernetes resource quota like that, if you just so here you could see that you will get a link, open a link. Now here what happened, if you come over here at the you can please go through this article. It is a very good article. If you go through it here, these are all limits, resource names actually, CPU. If you come here, this is the storage, and if you come for the object count quota, see, for what are the things you can set an quota. You can set a quota for persistent volume claims. That's what I mentioned here. You can for services. Yeah, I have not mentioned services. Secrets, say secrets, config maps, replication controller, deployment, replica statefulness. So these are all the resources you can set a quota. They might ask an interview for what are the things you can set a quota. You can say we can just tell for 4 things. Config maps I can set, pods I can set, secrets I can set, persistent volume I can set, for services, for deployment, for replica set, I can set the resource quota for all these different resources. You have to tell like that. Okay, sir. Now, so this is the theoretical thing. So let us go through the practical now. Clear, sir? So any doubts you have, sir, before we further move?
No, Rajesh.
Okay, great. Now, so I've already logged in to my master node. Okay. Now what I will do here, I need to write a YAML file actually. Okay. I need to write a YAML file to check or to set for the resource quota. Okay. So now what I will do here is that actually I've already written, we need not to worry. Okay. Here, if you see it here, you can see it here, something known as a project one quota. So before that, let me do one thing, sir. Let me create some 2 namespaces. kubectl, we know very well how to create a namespace. kubectl create namespace. You can either give NAM space or you can just say small ns shortcut. You can do anyway. Namespace and say project one. You have set a namespace. Similarly, you have to say kubectl create namespace project 2. Now, if I say kubectl get namespace, you could see that there are 2 namespaces, correct? You can even describe also kubectl describe namespace and say project 1. See, you are able to describe. So you could see that no resource quota. Okay, fine. No limit range resource. Fine, that is fine. Okay. Now what I will do that I need to write a YAML file. So YAML file, I have already have a YAML file here. You could see that I have a project 1 YAML file. Now here, if you see now in this YAML file, you could see that the YAML file starts the 3 dashes, which we know very well. It is a beginning of your YAML file. Fine. Okay. I'm using the API version. Okay. What is that? V1. Now what you have to do is that actually that's what the same story that you have to go to the Google and then say Kubernetes API reference. You have to go over here, click onto this link, and then go to the 1-page reference for the Kubernetes. Now here, if you come over here, you could see that actually resource quota. Where is resource quota? Resource quota. I think I missed it up itself. Replica set, replica stateful. Okay, fine. Daemon set, resource quota, pod replica set. Okay, endpoint, ingress class, config maps. Okay, secrets, persistent volume claim storage. Fine. Volumes come down, come down. We'll get limit range. We'll see later. If you come down over here, where is it? Namespaces, persistent volume, priority. See resource quota. So click on here. See, resource quota. See, API version, kind, metadata, spec. API version, kind, metadata, spec. This we know very well. These four are the pillars of any of a YAML file. Every YAML file will have a API version. It has a kind, it has a metadata, and it has a spec. That we know very well, right? API version for the resource quota is V1 core. So as I said, you can even say core slash V1. Since V1 belongs to always a core group, you need not to mention the core. You can remove it. Okay. Now after that, you have a kind. What kind of file kind? It is resource quota. You can either directly copy paste and paste it like this here. So you could say the resource quota here R and Q will be in uppercase. This you have to remember. Okay, fine. After that, you have a metadata. Okay, metadata. Under the metadata, if you go through it, it's an object meta. It is of a type object meta, and we have seen in the last session also that if you it will take time, but it load it. Here you have so many fields are there, so many fields are there. But the point is here that actually how I can make use of it. So there are some important things. One is nothing but your name. So you have to mention the name. So this is nothing but your pod name. Okay. Whenever a pod is getting created, it will get with the name project one quota. Okay, fine. After that, you have a namespace because I want to run this pod under the namespace. So you can mention the namespace here like this, and it's a project one. You know very well that I already created a project one namespace, correct? So the same namespace I'm using over here. Okay. After that, what is it? You have a spec actually. You have a spec. Spec, you could see that it's a resource quota spec. Open this resource quota spec. If you open this resource quota spec actually, you could see that there is something which is hard actually. Okay, this is a hard limit you are setting it. Hard resource limit you are setting. So what you're doing, you are setting that pod, I want 10. Okay. Config maps, I want 10. Okay. Secrets, I want 10. Okay. Services, I want 10. Okay. Persistent volume, I want some 50. Okay. Memory limits, I'll only give 800 MI, and CPU cores, I'm only giving 10. So this is what the resource quota, these are all the hard limits which you are setting for your namespace project one. And it will create a pod with the name project one, and it will have all this hard set. Means that under this project one, you cannot have pods more than 11, 10. After 10, you're creating a 11th, it will throw in error. So what I will do, just to show namespace, I'll just set 2 actually. Okay. Rest other things we will see. Now what I will do, I will just copy this. I'll go to the master node and I'll say vi. Let me do one thing. Let me create the same name, project one hyphen quota, like that. I'll say project one hyphen quota dot YAML. So I'll just, okay, sorry, not, I don't know why. I will see. I'll check it out why it is not actually. Sorry. Nano. I'll say nano. I will paste it, and then say I will control O, write enter, and say control X, save and quit. Now if you see the cat of project one, you could see that this is YAML file. Now what happened that you need to apply it actually. If you execute the kubectl apply hyphen F and specify the project one quota, now you have set the quota here. Clear? Now what I will do, sir, okay, for your information, okay, I'll do one thing, sir. Project one quota, I will do one thing, sir. I will remove these limits actually. I don't want the memory and CPU right now. I don't want it. I will remove it. Okay, you did the changes. Now save the file. Again, you need to reapply. You have to again say kubectl apply hyphen F because you have did the changes, right? You need to reapply again. So again, it will get reconfigured actually. Now you could see that when you run for the first time, it says it's getting created. But after that, when you're reapplying again after the changes, see it is configured actually. You have to understand this. Okay. Now, if you say kubectl get, I think it is quota, and namespace how to give a, okay, project one. Let us see. So see here, kubectl get quota hyphen n and specify the namespace. See, it is saying that, or else you can even say kubectl describe quota. What is the quota name? Project 1 quota. See, quotas or quota? I think I have to give a namespace, sir. Actually, yes, I have to give the namespace. See, here it will show like this. See, now what is happening? See, in your case, you could see that pod limit you have given 2. See, pods 2. Hard limit is 2. How much use? Oh, nothing has been used here. Okay, fine. And after that, config map is there. It's showing you are set as a 10 actually, but by default, what happened? Right, your system itself will use one config map. Similarly, for the secrets, you are creating a 10, but by default, your system, the Kubernetes system will use 1. Services, you are not using anything actually. That's what it is showing as 0. So these are all it is showing a hard limit and used actually. So this is how you are trying to display what is the quota, resource quota for your namespace project 1 actually. Now what I will do, since I have given the project hard code for the pod as 2, I'll do one thing. So let me create a pod actually. kubectl run web-server. You know very well now what I'm doing. Image is equal to nginx, and I will create this in a namespace project 1. Okay. I've created, fine. Let me create one more app server, right? One more pod. So now if you execute kubectl get pods -n project 1, now you could see that you are able to create 2 pods, correct? Now if I execute this command, kubectl describe, what is it? Describe quota project 1. Let me clear the screen. And if you run it, see, there are 2 pods you have already used 2. Okay. Now let me create one more pod, sir. One more pod, and let me check if whether it will allow or not. So this time I will create a node. I'll create a pod with the name prod actually. So let us see. See what it says. Forbidden, exceeded quota. Your project 1 quota requested 1 pod, used 2, limited is 2 only. So you cannot do it actually, right? It means that you are restricting to your namespace itself that you cannot create more than 2 pods. So in that way, what happened, right? You are actually setting a resource limits for each and every project with the help of a namespace actually. That you have to understand. Clear, sir? Now again you say, Rajesh, no, Rajesh, I want to still create that, man. What I have to do? No problem, man. Go to your file, project quota. Go and here increase some for from something like 2 to 5 actually. Replace it actually. Save this file. Again reapply it actually. kubectl apply -f project. Reapply it again. Now you try to create your code. Now you try to create this pod. Now it will allow, right? Now again you say kubectl describe quota. Now you could see that now the hard limit has turned to 3. Now you have created 3 pods. So is it clear, sir?
Yes, Rajesh.
So what you're doing here, you are setting a resource quota to a namespace, sir. That you have to understand. The intro might confuse. Can you set a resource quota to a node, he will say, or can you set a resource quota to the cluster? No, you can only set a resource quota to the namespace, and that namespace I'm creating here, that is a project 1. Okay, so that's how. Now what is happening is that actually that here, now what we will do now, we will open that project 1 quota. Now what I will do, I'll go here and I will just add these 2 names. These 2 resources I will add actually. So let me realign this. So here what is happening that you are setting the memory of 10 MIs, okay, and the CPU has 10 cores actually, okay. So 10 cores and memory as 10 MIs or 10 MBs actually, 800 MBs actually. So now I will set it. I will save this file. Okay. So now what is happening that to check actually, suppose like now what is happening that after checking it again you need to apply, right? Kubectl apply -f and set the YAML file, right? You need to apply it again because you did the changes, right? So now what is happening is that if you execute kubectl describe quota project, now you could see that there are two more resources have been added. One is the CPU and other is the memory. See, the memory is having 800 MI, 800 MB, means maximum your pod can allocate up to 800 MB. And the core, how many number of cores your each and every pod can use? It can max use a 10 CPU cores, not more than 10 CPU cores. So this is what the limits you have set now for the resource quota. Now, what is happening that once you have set any of the resource quota, something like a memory in the CPU, okay, let me do one thing, sir. Let me remove the pods, sir. Actually, kubectl get pods -n, and you have project. So we have some pods, right, which are running. Let me do one thing. Let me remove these pods actually. Kubectl delete pods -fn all and specify your namespace. See, all everything is deleted. Now again say kubectl get pods -n projects. No, nothing is there. Fine. Now what I was trying to tell that now what is happening is that actually with the with the addition of the two parameters, one is the limits memory and other limit CPU, you have actually set these two things in your resource quota and you have applied it. Means you have did a kubectl apply. Now what is happening that whenever you want to create any pods, like for example, if you say kubectl run something web hyphen server, okay, -fn image is equal to nginx and specify the your namespace. See, it will not allow to do it. Why? Because right when you are running a pod, actually, this is the command I'm doing. You have to pass what is the limits the CPU your pod will be using, what is the memory limits your pod will be using. That you have to pass it, sir. If you don't pass this information, it will not allow it to create it actually. For purposefully, I want to show this because you have to understand that. See, earlier what happened, right? Without this were there. This is not all fine. I mean, you need not to pass any parameter in the command line while creating a pod. You need not to pass any config maps. You need not to pass any pod or scripts and all. For this, you do not to pass anything in the command line while pod is getting while you are creating a pod. But whereas when you have set the limits for the CPU and memory, you have to pass in a command line, sir. If you don't pass it, it will give a forbidden error like this actually. Failed code. I mean, it will show a failure that it is not able to create it. So now what we will do now, we will have an example of a YAML file where we can actually set a limits for the CPU as well as the memory while creating a pod. For the pod itself, you are going to set it. Okay. So what is it actually? If you see it actually, I have a example of pod quota.yaml actually. See here. Now you could see here. Please see here. Now coming back to it. So API version v1, okay, kind pod. Oh, it means that you are trying to create for the pod, okay, and you have a metadata, and metadata for the pod name you are giving the web server as a pod name, fine. Under the spec, you are having a container actually. So in the last section we have seen this, that if you go to this, go at the top, you have a pod actually. Here pod, right? For the pod, let me remove this. For the pod, you have API version, kind, metadata, and a spec actually. But what is happening under the spec actually? What is happening that spec? If you go to the pod spec, you have something as the image, and you have something. There are many fields are there, sir. Sir, suppose you say that Rajesh, I don't want to see this actually into the. Is there any command line? Yes, there's a command line. How to do that? Kubectl, sir. Kubectl explain pod. Okay? If you say explain pod, see, it will show you that the kind is pod The version is v1. It has a fields. What is that fields? API version, kind, metadata, spec, and status, like this. You say that, okay, fine, Rajesh, this I understood. But inside this metadata or inside this spec and all, I need to say, what is it? Same thing, you have to use kubectl will explain, but here you have to say -FN recursive, and you can even do pipette to less, something like that you can do. See, now you could see that it will give a description. Pod is a collection of content that runs on a host. Okay, fine. Field is there. See, API version is there. Kind is there. Same thing. Okay. API version is there. Kind is there. Okay, fine. After that, metadata. Under the metadata, you could see that there's a name. See, name. Here also you can give a namespace also. You can give the namespace here also. So I'll do one thing. I'll give a namespace here as project one. Okay. Now coming down, come down here. See, you have a spec actually. Under the spec, you have something as a there are so many fields are like, for example, node affinity is there, node affinity is there. See, required during scheduling, ignored during exception is there. Like that, there are many things are there, sir. It's a very vast thing. Pod affinity is there, blah blah. So many things are there. But what I'm interested in the container actually. Right? See here, you have a container. I have a container. But container is actually an array actually. See, this is an array actually. So as I said in the last class also, you remember, I told that if you go to the pod spec, this is the pod spec actually. See, this is a pod spec. Pod spec has many things like active deadline, affinity, same thing here also. If you go to the command line, you could see the same thing here. See, same thing, sir, nothing. See, is it? See, affinity, see, active deadline second, see, active deadline second, see, affinity, see, affinity. But here what happened in the graphical way, I mean, you will like viewing through a graphical way, not with this way. That's what I would prefer to go here. But you have both the options. That's what I said. So you have a container. So let me use this container. Okay. Let me use this container. Okay. Container is a container array, is saying. So now if I go inside this, open this container array. So what and all it has actually. See, so container, it has many fields. I have an arc, I have a command, I have an environment variable to pass, I have an image, I have a name also. So I'm using a name here. So firstly, I'm using an image actually. So whenever it is an array, as I said, like container colon, next line come, you two spaces, always start with a hyphen. All of it is an array means you have to always start the hyphen space. You have to say image actually, image. And what is the image I'm using? Nginx, fine, okay. After that, I'm using some name. So what is that name? Let me do until let me use the same name as a pod name, as a container name also, web server. Okay, fine, okay. After that, if you come down, see, you have a resources. See, I'm using. So whenever you want to set any resource limits, like CPU, memory, and all, you have to go to the resource actually. So resource requirement. See, if you come over here, here they will say how to use that resources. See, you have a limits, something like this, and you have a memory and CPU like this. See, here's the limits. So limits. Then you have to say, again, I have to check it out how it is means. Then he has given an example over here actually. You can go here, you can click here, and so simple, sir. It is very simple. You should have only patience to learn or learn. That's all. Patience to read, patience to see all the things. Okay. They have given examples, sir. Here, see limits, memory, CPU. See, memory, CPU. Clear, sir, till here? Sir, all of you.
Yeah,
Yes,
right.
sir.
Are you, how you are thinking? How you are feeling? Is it easy or is it difficult to understand?
So if you practice couple of times, easy, but like as you
Yeah,
told,
it is easy only. I will tell you my experience, sir. I will tell you my experience. Last 1.5 months back, last from 1.5 months, I'm practicing. I am feeling very, very, very easy to understand now, sir. Dead easy. I can write my own YAML file now. Anything you tell me, I will write my own YAML file now. Now, what has happened? I have practiced so many times that actually without seeing anything, without seeing any example, I'm writing myself now. That is the power of learning through this API reference. That is a power. Now what is happening, right? When I can easily, and I can easily know, sir, under the metadata, what are the things it has, under the pod spec, what are things I remember now. Most of the things I remember now. I remember I used to recall, and then what happened? Easily I'm writing a pod file, sir. So what I will do now, I will write a pod file. I will, suppose if there is any syntax error, no problem. So I'll copy it like this. Aram say, I'll go here. I'll go to the net. I'll say YAML validator. See, I'll go to the YAML validator. I want to check whether my YAML, what is the YAML I have written is correct or not. See, go. See, it'll give a green color. It's a valid one. Suppose assume that actually here, assume that you are given one space extra like this you are given. So this I'll copy it. Put here, remove it. Okay. It will throw error saying that it's while parsing. So there is some issues there. Oh, here you will get to know you are given more space like this. Okay. See? Now again, you will say go. So now it will become valid. So you can even always use a YAML validator to check what are the YAML you have written, right? The syntax is correct or not. Clear, sir?
Yes, Rajesh.
Okay. So that's how. Now what I will do now, I'll copy this. Okay. Now I'll go to my machine. That's a VI pod quota.yaml. Same thing. I cannot use VI. So copy this. Control X, Control O, enter, Control X. So cat of pod. Now what you have did here that you are saying that when you are creating a pod, actually for that pod you are setting a resource limit of 300 MI, and you're setting a CPU of 1 core CPU. Okay. Now if you say kubectl describe, okay, what is it? Get quota -n project one. Okay. Instead of get describe, then here you have to give project. Okay. Now what you are doing, you are setting a limit. So 800M and CPU core is 10 actually, correct? So what is happening that, oh, you're also whatever you are claiming here, see, it is below this 800. Oh, it will allow. Okay, it is okay, fine, it is allowed. So now what you will do that, you are going to take kubectl apply -f pod quota.yaml. Let me clear the screen. See, it will allow. Now kubectl get pods -n project one. Okay, guys. So what is happening now? It is pending. Okay, I want to just check why it is feeling like this. Okay, kubectl describe pod and specify that web -server, and then say the space project one. Okay. Now what it says, see, in the event it is saying that it's a failed scheduling. Why it is saying that insufficient CPU, too insufficient CPU. Okay, fine. So let me do one thing. Let me open that pod dot quota. Okay, let me go CPU. What I will do, I will do the changes here. Okay, I will do, instead of 1, I will let me give half of the core CPU. I'll say 0.5 actually. Half of, not 1 core, half of means 500 MEP. You can even give like this actually, like this 500 milli CPU, like that. 500 mm also can give. Later I'll tell you what is it, or else you can even give 0.5, half I'll give. Okay, no problem. So that's how. So let me do one thing first. Let me remove that delete -f. What is it? Pod.yaml. So I'll removing it. Now what will happen here? I will again do a kubectl apply -f. What is it? Pod.yaml. What is it, sir? Some issue there. Okay. Let me check what is it. Oh, sorry. Okay, oh, something it is being pressed actually. So let me do this. Let me delete it again. Again, it's not created, and let me again apply now. Now it will work. Now if I execute kubectl get pods -n project one, now you could say it is coming to the running state now. Now if you execute kubectl describe pod and the not pod, describe your quota actually. Describe your quota. Now you could see that out of 800 ms, 300 ms is used by your one of the pod. Correct, sir? Now out of 800, 300 ms, still 500 ms is left actually. Now what you will do, let me do one thing, let me copy that pod.yaml to the pod.yaml or to pod.yaml second pod. I will open the second pod. I will create one more YAML file. So here what I will do, I will give 600, 600. But there is only 500 remaining in that quota. Now, but I'm giving 600. Whether it will work? Let us check. kubectl apply -f pod -quota -2 .yaml. See, it will. What happened?
Rajesh, we are facing little bit delay.
Okay, now.
Uh,
Now also delay.
no, now we can see like kubectl
Yeah.
apply you
Yeah.
gave.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, let me find out only. And let me check if I'm able to apply kubectl. Wait, hold on a second. So get pods. -n project one. Okay, it is running. Now I'll do one thing. kubectl apply -f. See what I did now. I created one more pod, sir. Actually, one more YAML file. I just copied the same thing as a two here, and I'm just I changed some of things. So here like this, I just changed this. So I'll do one thing. Okay, I have to even change the name also. I can do the change also, no problem. Yeah, I did the changes. Fine. Now I'll do one thing. I will apply now. kubectl apply -f pod -quota -2 .yaml. See, it will allow me, sir. kubectl get pods -n project one. See, it is allowing me. Now, if you see the resource quota, almost 800 it is used, sir. Now, do you think that if I have one more, do you think that now if I have one more YAML file, do you think that it will allow? Or else if I say kubectl delete -f pod -quota -2, I will remove it and I'll open the same .yaml file. Here instead of 500, I will make 600 because only 500 is available. Now making 600. Now if I do a kubectl apply -f pod -2, see, it will not allow at all because you are actually asking for 600 megabytes, but the limit of this is only 300 is left actually, right? So you cannot create it actually. It will not throw. It will throw an error. So what you can do, either you can go and increase your limits of your memory under the configuration file itself, or else you have to reduce from your pod itself. You have to reduce. You say that Rajesh, I cannot give you. You can only get maximum give only 500 only. So like that, you can replace it like this. So, clear, sir? Now again, you can say kubectl delete -f or dot. It has not allowed it. It is not even created also. Not created only. You can again apply. It will allow. Not. Is it clear, sir? Resource quota.
Yes, Rajesh.
Yeah, good. Now, what is happening is that actually the question comes that, okay, fine, Rajesh, we understood what you said about the resource quota, that you are setting a quota for your namespaces. That's all fine. Now, assume that I want to set some kind of a limits to the pod itself, some kind of a limits to the container itself. It's there that inside the pod. Now here what is happening in the worker node, you will be creating so many pods, right? But I want to set the limit to the pod itself actually. Here what happened to the overall resource, you are setting a limit, or you are setting the quota. But there might be a requirement where you'll say that within a pod itself, you want to say that Rajesh, within a pod itself, each pod should only get how much? You can only create only 3 pods within 3 containers within a pod, not more than 3 containers like that. Okay, right? That is one thing. And what is happening that you can only give each and every container. Sorry, I will write it here, sir. Sorry. So what you're doing is that. So you're saying that I want to set the limits to the pod itself actually, or even to the container, or even to the storage also. Like what you say that, Rajesh, I want to set, for example, like for a container, for a pod itself. So these are pod. So these are pod, and you say that Rajesh, within a pod itself, I want to set to that. Okay, within a pod, I should not create more than 3 containers actually. So you are setting only 3 containers, not more than 3 containers, and each container, the max limit or max CPU limit should be one core CPU, and also the max memory limit you can have up to 1 GB. So here what you're doing that, here you're setting the limits to the pod as well as to the container itself, and even to the storage also, persistent volume storage. In that case, what happened, right? We will be using something known, something known as a limit range actually. This something was a limit range actually. So we have to use a limit range. So limit range, if somebody asks you how to say, so limit range is only applicable for the pods, for the containers, as well as for the storage or the persistent volume. For only these 3 things, the limit range is applicable, whereas the resource quota is applicable to the namespace itself, whereas the limit range is set for only pod and container and storage. This you have to keep it in your mind. If somebody asks you what is limit range means, you can set a limits like CPU limits, memory limits, storage limits, everything you can set, but this limit range is only applicable to this pod, container, and storage, not to the resource, not to the namespace, not to the cluster, not to the nodes, right? So that difference you have to understand. Clear, sir? Now what is happening that now we have to understand our limit range actually. So that's what the limit range is. Okay. Now here, coming back to here. Now if you go to the Google, you go to the Kubernetes, you'll say Kubernetes limit range examples. You'll get several examples, sir. Hundreds of examples are there. But here you could see that limit range, you are setting it here. So here you could see that how to configure minimum maximum CPU constraint per namespace. This is how to configure minimum maximum memory constraint per range. How to configure default CPU request and name it per namespace. So you could see that actually you are able to set it actually. Okay. Now what is happening is that actually this is an example. So they gave an example actually. Okay. Now here what I will do. So let me go with an example. So let me do let me do one thing. Sorry, let me remove the pods and all, right? Kubectl get pods and project one. Okay, let me remove sir everything. Kubectl, I think I can delete -f pod dot YAML. So I'm deleting it. You can even delete like that kubectl get delete pod also, or else if you have a YAML file, you can delete with that YAML file also, right? And after that, what is it? Kubectl delete what is that? Sorry, get quota, right? Get quota. Sorry, man. Sorry, I have to always I forget to give namespace. So I'll say kubectl. Even why I have to delete like that? I have anyhow I have this, right? I can say kubectl delete -f project one dot quota, right? So why I have to remove the resource quota. So I have to delete it like this. Now again, if you say kubectl get quota like this, nothing will be there, right? It will not show anything. So no resource. Okay. Now we all have removed. Fine. So now we have something as a limit range actually. So to the limit range, what I will do there, I will go here. I've already noted down an example. So you can set a limit quota for the container to the pod actually. So what I will do that, I will try to copy this. So this is an example of sir K8s Kubernetes itself official site. I'm just going here. So I'll go here. I'll do one thing. I'll try to do a duplicate of this path actually. Let me copy it actually. So I'm downloading it. What is it? So I got a file by name limit -mem CPU container.yaml file. Okay, let me see what is it. Limit CPU YAML. Now here you could see that actually you have a kind with the name limit range. So it is not a resource quota. Resource quota, whereas in case of resource quota, you saw, right? You know very well that in case of a resource quota, you need to always mention the type. See, project one quota. You saw right here. See, we have a resource quota. Oh, okay, I have to use this kind because if you go to the API, right? API, would have seen that. Similarly, right? If you have a what is it? Limit range, right? If you come down, see limit range, right? Limit range. The limit range is there. So this is also one of the resource. So that's how you have to use. So what is it? So here you could see that limit range, V1 version, core, API version, kind, metadata, spec, right? Similarly, here, if you go to the here, see API version, kind, metadata, spec. Okay, sorry, this is for the limit actually. Limit. Okay. See API version V1, API version V1, fine. Kind, limit range. Okay, limit range. Metadata. Basically, I have to give the name and I have to give a namespace actually. If I'm not giving namespace, it will create in a default namespace. So let me do the let me allow me to create a default namespace itself. Okay. I'm not be dependent upon the project one or project two namespace. Okay. Now you could see that I'm creating a container name with this name. So name limit. So if you go here, the object meta, you will know that it will have many things, but I'm using only the name actually. Okay, fine. After that, you have a spec actually. So inside the spec, you have a limit range spec like this. So in the limit range spec, you have something known as the limits. Okay. Under the limits, what you will have that actually you have something like the max and minimum, default and default request. And the type is container. It means that you are now setting the limit range for the container. Similarly, if you are setting a limit range for the pod, here you have a type known as a pod, type pod like that. So now I am only setting the limit for the container. Now, so for the container, you are having this thing. So here, if you go to the, if you go to this here, limit range. See, limit range is there actually. Where limits are there actually, and this is an array type actually. It's an array type. Okay, limit range actually, limit range spec. And if you still go over here, if you still go over here, you could see that actually, because this is an array, that's what you could see that limit. After that, two namespace hyphen two namespace, I'm starting with the max actually. So if you come over here, see, you have everything over here actually. See, max is there, minimum is there, and the type is there. What is the type? Type is container. See, I'm using only two fields, max and minimum. Other fields, default request. See, I'm using the default request. See, and I'm also using default. See, where is the default? See, default. Clear, sir? It's so easy, right? Default I'm using, okay. Default request also I'm using, fine. Max also using, minimum also using, but I'm not using this max limit request ratio. No, not required. I'm not using this. And as well as at the end, I'm using the type. See, this is for the limit range. Now, what you're doing here actually here is that, okay, before, so what I'm doing here is that actually I'm setting the CPU limit as well as memory limit. What is the maximum you can give? You can give up to 800 millicore. What is the maximum memory you can give? You can give up to 1 GI, 1 GB of memory. Now, sir, I want to ask you one question here. Sir, I want to ask you one question over here actually. What is one question means? What is this 800 milli? What is this 1 GI? What is this 1 GB? Any idea, sir? Anyone has any idea? Okay, let me do it. Let me explain actually. What is this? Now, now, see, always one core CPU is always equal to 1000 milli CPU. Similarly, if I have four core CPU, it is nothing but it is 4000 milli CPU, or you can just say M, 4000 milli CPU. Similarly, you might see that many times you might see that 800 MI or 900 M. So you can even see sometimes like you can even see the memory something like in the kilobyte, as well as you might have seen some many places like KBI, right? Similarly, you would have even seen something like a GB. Then you would have even seen something like GBI like that. Similarly, you would have even seen MB, and you would have even seen MBI. What is the meaning of this actually? 1 kilobyte is equal to 1000 bytes, whereas 1 KBI, whatever you have KBI, right, is equal to 1024 bytes. Similarly, 1 MB byte is nothing but 1 kilobyte. 10 kilobyte, right? 10 or 100, how much? How much, sir? 1 KB is 1 KB means it is 1000 we say, but 1 KBI we call it as a 1024 bytes actually. 1 MB,
1024.
no,
1000 KB, 1000 KB.
1000 KB is one this one. Similarly, 1 MBI we say, which is nothing but 1024 KBI is actually like this. Similarly, like that also 1 GB. If you say simple say 1 GB, which is nothing but what is it? 1000 MB is 1 GB. But whereas a 1 GBI, we call it as a how much? 1024 MBI like this. This is the conversion. This is how you have to understand, sir. So now what is happening is that when it comes to here, when it comes to your, he say 800 milli. 800 milli means how much? One out of core, 80% of your millis is nothing but your one core. So this CPU is number 800 milli means one core CPU is number 1000 millis actually. So you are using you are not using the complete one core CPU. Only 80% of your one core you are using. So that's what 800 mm. Here you could also see 7M. Here also you could see 100. So where and all you will get this information? You will get the information in the Kubernetes official site itself. They would have mentioned everything. Like for example, if you go to the Kubernetes limit range, right? Kubernetes limit range, right? There itself, he has explained all those things. I have read in that official document only. I read all those things. See, if you come here, somewhere they have explained all these things, sir. Or else you can even go with the resource quota also. There they would have explained it actually. Somewhere I have either read in resource quota or somewhere I have read actually. Okay, if you come over here, somewhere they have okay. Somewhere, sir. If you read it, you'll get to know. I was reading this somewhere and I got to know about all these things. Okay, that's fine. But if you read the document, you'll get to know. But whatever I'm saying, you understood, right? Whatever they're saying, you understood, right? So now what is happening that this is the max will be allocated for your container actually. 800 is a max CPU, and similarly 1 GBI is a max yield. Minimum is 100. Minimum memory for your container will be given 99 MB. Suppose you're not setting any max and minimum, there has to be some default, right? So default max will be given 700 milli core CPU, and default memory will be 900 MB. Simply default, and the minimum default is this one. So this is the max, this is the minimum, this is a default max, and this is a default minimum, right? So now what I will do, I will just try to apply this actually. kubectl apply -f limit CPU like this. Will apply it, sir. Now what is happening? It has been applied now. Now if I say kubectl get limit range. See, now you could see that this is a limit range. You can even say kubectl describe limit range and then specify the name of this. See, it will show you. See, whatever you have given in the right. See, what is the max 800 M's CPU? Minimum, what is the minimum? 100. What is the memory max? 1 GB. Minimum 900 MB, 900 MI, 900 megabytes actually. Similarly, if you are not giving any min and max in your while creating a pod or while creating content, if you are not giving these details, then it will pick the default one. So in the default one, what is the minimum default? If you're not giving a max and minimum, default minimum is 110 milli CPU. Similarly, memory is this much, and similarly the max is 700 M, minimum is max is memory is this much. Clear? So now what is happening that now you have set the limit range for the container itself, and this is what the range actually. Now shall I execute an example? Shall we write a pod, or shall we write a pod where we are setting limit for the containers? Yes, we can do it. So to do that actually I need not to type it because I have an example over here itself. So let me do one thing. Let me copy this. Let me copy this. Let me do a wget of this file. Okay. So I'll get a file with the name limit range pod1.yaml. Like you can see that limit range. This is a file actually. So let me open this file. So this is my pod file. I mean, this is my like. So this is my pod file. That's what I'm saying. Now, what I'm doing, let me do one thing. I don't want all these things. So before doing anything, let me keep a copy of this file. Why I'm doing, I will let you know later. Range, okay, I'll do one thing. Limit range, icon pod. I'll just say backup of this file. Okay, after that, I'll open this file again. So let me do one thing. I don't want all the things. Let me remove this everything. Okay, only this much I want actually. Okay, sir. Now what I'm doing here. Okay. So what I'm doing here. See, I have an example here. So what is the example means? So I'm using API version V1. Okay, kind pod metadata Name of the pod I want to give, I'm giving as a BusyBox1, actually, fine. So under the spec, actually, this is for the kind, sir. So you have to remember that you have to go to the API reference kit for the pod, actually, you have to go, right? And here you are going with the spec. Under the spec, you are having a container, right? In the container, you know very well that I have to give the container name. So name I'm giving something like a BusyBox CNT01 control 01. Okay, fine. I'm giving the image here. All these days I was giving Nginx as an image, right? But here I'm giving BusyBox. BusyBox also is one of the image actually where you can actually what happened, you can build any okay, let me use BusyBox itself. Okay. Now after that, you could see that in the container itself, you have something as a command. Oh, I want to execute some command. So to execute the command, you need a shell. So here you are calling a /bin/bash. Okay. What are the arguments you want to pass to the shell? This is the argument, complete argument I'm passing. So we need not to worry about all these arguments and commands and everything. Just understand that, okay, within a pod, when the pod is getting created, when the pod is up and running, it has to execute some job, right? So it is basically executing this job, you have to understand. That's so simple. With the help of a shell, it is executing this. So for that, I need to use a command. So for this a command, what are the argument you can pass to that command? This command is numbered args. If you go to your spec file, under the spec, you could see that there is a command also is there, field, and there's a arg is also there. Fine. And same in the same thing, you have a resources also. Here, what you're doing that for your container, what is a minimum limits you are giving? Oh, whenever my container is getting created, I have to give a minimum of 100 MI. It means 100 megabytes I have to give. For the CPU, I have to only give 100 milli CPU. Same thing here. You could see that milli CPU. So out of one core, you are only giving 1% of the CPU. It means only 100 M only you are giving it actually. This is the minimum. How much is the maximum your container can go up to? It can go up to the max of 200 M, and it can go up to the max of CPU 500. So this is the maximum limit and this is the minimum. So whenever you see under the resourcer, whenever you say requester, you should understand that though this is a minimum. Whenever you see under the resource something like a limit, sir, oh, it means that this is the max. In that way, you have to understand. This is the maximum and this is the minimum. That is how you have to understand. Okay, sir? Now what I will do, I will save this file. I know this file is there. Now you saw that already, you saw our limits, right? If I execute the kubectl describe limit range limit, you saw that it is having a maximum of 800 milli for the container actually, and minimum it will give up to 100. Similarly, what is happening that if you're not specifying this, it will take default value as a minimum of 110 and max as 700 M. This is in case of a CPU. So you could see that the type is containers. See, for the container, it can give like this. Even for the container, the memory, this is the minimum and max, and this is the default minimum and default max actually. Like this. Now, what is happening that I have a container with this name. What is that name? Limit range pod.yaml, right? Limit range of, let me do one thing, let me do a kubectl apply -f and give this YAML file. Okay, the pod has got created because here what is happening that, see, please understand that you are not giving any namespace here. So what it is doing that it is using the default namespace. So I have to just say kubectl get pods. I need not to give -n and specify project one. No, I'm not using any namespace here. In the default itself, I'm giving it here. Okay, I'm sorry. I think let me do one thing. Let me remove all the spots. Actually, I didn't delete it. Actually, all. Oh, don't worry about these things. What are these things and all? Okay. Okay. So okay. Sorry, it is taking some time, but we'll try to finish it. I'll take another 10 minutes more, sir. I'll finish it off. Actually, it's a very lengthy thing, but I will try to finish in 10 minutes. Okay, now again, I'll do a apply actually. Kubectl, okay, let me do the kubectl apply apply hyphen f limit range dot pod actually. So it is getting created. Now if I execute kubectl get pods, see that pod got created, the name busybox. So you had given, now what you can do that you can say kubectl describe pod and then say busybox1. If you see it here, now in the events it is showing actually that it has able to create the pod. Sorry, it's able to create the pod actually, yes. But inside the pod, now you could see that it has having container and you are mentioning here as a busybox. This is the container name. Now you could see that what is the limit range it has. You see, whatever the minimum CPU, it can allocate up to 100 M and the 100 milli and the memory is 100 M. Similarly, what happened, the max it can take up to 500 M and it is able to create. So it means that actually it is using that range, within that range it is using like that. Now assume that actually if you are having a describe, where is describe? Okay. I'm using the max is 800 only. Okay, so I'll do one thing, kubectl delete hyphen f, what is it, hyphen f pod, not pod, limit hyphen pod limit, what is it, limit range. Okay, I'm removing it actually. Basically it will take some time because to remove this pod. So what we'll do, like we will try to take another 2 minutes to complete, not completely do it. We'll take some 2 minutes. Then what I will do next class, I will continue from here itself. Okay, guys. I don't want to really long because I need another 10 to 15 minutes to complete it. I cannot complete it now. So kubectl, not kubectl. If you open this limit range actually, now you could see that I'm allocating the memory of 100 M and the CPU is 100 M, okay, 100 milli. And if you see that, if you see that the max itself is 800 actually. So max itself is 8 actually. So what I will do, I will say limit range pod decimal. See, this is the limit. Max is 200. So instead of giving, not sorry, CPU, right? This is CPU, right? The CPU is itself max. Here what happened? The max here itself is 500. So here it is 800. Let me give 900 here, right? Let me check. I'm just verifying. So I'm replacing with 900. So do you think that it will run? It will fail, right? kubectl hyphen apply hyphen f limit range pod dot. See, it will fail because right per content limited. So the max you set it as a 800 itself actually, right? But you are using 900 as a max actually in your in your container actually. So which is, it will not allow it to create it actually. So that's how. Similarly, you cannot even use a low also. I mean, minimum also you cannot use. Suppose here minimum is some 100 actually. If you are giving 80 mi actually, 80 mi it will not take. It will fail again because you are using no, you're using minimum then whatever it is mentioned over here actually like that. So those things and all, like what happened, right? You have to understand the limit ranges and all. Like you can set the limit ranges both for the pod as well as for the container. Clear, sir? So today we are only playing with the container. In the next session, what we will do, like we will re-continue from here itself actually, and then what is happening that we will try to complete for the pod container and then for the pod actually. For the storage, I will not do the limit range now for now on itself, but because like we have not gone through the persistent volume class actually. So I have to explain you that once I complete the explanation of the persistent volume, then I will take up the limit range for the storage at that time. So on the same day when I'm teaching the persistent volume, I'll also cover up the storage limit range also at the same time. Clear, sir? So this is all about, sir.
Yes, Rajesh.
So okay, fine, sir. This is what all about, sir. Okay, and we have to like practice, like right? We have to practice a lot now.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you
Yeah.
can start the recording.
Yeah, okay. Let me stop the session.
Let me do it.